Alright, I'm just reading an article here on Boxing Scene and it's quoted as such. Anthony Joshua expects September return, prefers earlier date. To read it here, it says Anthony Joshua said he expects to return to the ring in September, most likely in Saudi Arabia. I'll just interject. I said this once, I'll say it again. It's not the worst thing in the world because at the quite sociable times they're pretty much the same as here in terms of times they have the ring fights at the main events at in Saudi Arabia. I know it's like wee hours in the morning over there, but UK time it's the same as a normal show in London would be. I reckon the likes of Joshua, Fury, Usyk, probably some others as well. Saudi Arabia, whether it be Jeddah, whether it be Riyadh, that's going to be their home for the foreseeable future in terms of fights. Joshua was talking about retiring in October 26th, before the time he's 37 there or thereabouts. Maybe his last fight, if he knows it's going to be his last fight, he'll do it in the O2, a bit of a homecoming, because that's really been, his home, really, the O2 in London, in North Greenwich in London. Maybe he'll do that, but I would imagine for his main fights moving forward, they're all going to be in Saudi Arabia. Because the money they're making over there is just absolutely astronomical. It really is. In his past outings, Joshua made light work of former UFC heavyweight champion Ngannou, as he should, in 2 rounds. The former unified champion of the world is in contention to face the winner of Fury Usyk or challenge for the vacant IBF title if and when it gets made vacant. On the Jonathan Ross show, Joshua said, "Around September is when I've been told. I was hoping for June. I've got some time to go on dates now and mingle a little bit. I'm in training at the minute. I've got 2 months before I go into camp. No, I don't know the opponent, but I think what they're saying is be patient because you've got Tyson Fury versus Usyk for all the belts. And once that's done, hopefully I can kick down the door and get my opportunity. Fury is one of my rivals. This is someone I want to compete with one day." So that's pretty much it. So he's likely going to be out in September, doesn't yet know the opponent. It kind of really does depend on, listen, if Tyson Fury defeats Alexander Usyk in May, and I know there's a rematch clause in place. Let's say Alexander Usyk is defeated, decides, do you know what? I put everything into this training camp. I don't think I have it in me. My body can physically do that again. And I don't know if I can, say he brings his A game, he brings his all, and it's not enough. I don't know if maybe he would turn around and say, you know what, that's it. So if Usyk was to say lose to Fury and bow out, would not even remotely shock me. In fact, I would probably say if Usyk doesn't take the rematch, it's Joshua Fury next. I would go and put money on that. That is Joshua Fury next. If Tyson Fury wins and Usyk invokes that rematch clause, or the other way around, then I would be more inclined to say probably will fight for either a vacant IBF or will probably be made mandatory challenger for the IBF, whoever is the champion at the time. Because the rumour mill is that Hrgovic versus Dubois, which apparently is going to be part of the Matchroom versus Queensbury show, headlined, obviously they're not Matchroom Queensbury, but headlined by the undisputed light heavyweight world title fight. That card on paper is starting to look amazing, like better than Day of Reckoning. And like that main event alone, I would just take a crap undercard for that main event. It's like everything's coming full circle. You're getting the best main event you could make with a brilliant undercard to boot. You just can't really ask for anything more with that. But the rumour mill is that it's going to be Hrgovic versus Dubois, and that fight is actually going to have the vacant IBF title on the line. Now, obviously, people are going to ask, and they're right to ask that. Why has it got the IBF title vacant on the line for Dubois when Otto Wallin going into the Joshua fight was number 2 ranked? Joshua would then inherit and usurp him in the rankings should it not be 1 and 2. With the IBF, maybe it's with all sanctioned bodies, but I know with the IBF, with mandatories or final eliminators, if you don't have to take the final eliminator, so then they'll move down the rankings. It's one of the reasons why George Groves, I believe, was mandatory for Carl Froch in 2013. If you look at Kell Brook, some of the mandatories he had, the Kevin Biziers of the world, and that was a mandatory. You can see how that can come to pasture. So it wouldn't shock me if Joshua says, all right, look, I want to be out in June, but all right, Dubois, I'll fight the winner in September. That's kind of how I see it. I do see Joshua fighting in September being in a big, it's not going to be, and I know you say Ngannou was a big fight, it was, But I mean a big and competitive fight. If it's Hrgovic Dubois winner, that's a big fight and it's very competitive. And obviously, if it's Fury or if it's Usyk, you know, if it's Fury, that's a massive fight. If it's Usyk, I'm not too keen on seeing a third fight because I think it's going to go the same way as the other two. But if it happens, it happens. You know, I'm pretty sure I would bet money that it would go the same way as the first two. But if it happens, it happens. In terms of Joshua, one thing I like what he's saying there is that he had hoped it would have been earlier. With Anthony Joshua is not stupid. He realizes the benefit of activity. Because you think of it like this, he's fought in early March and he may fight, say, early, mid, late September, we don't know. But let's just say September time, right? So that's roughly 6 months. Now, 6 months out of the ring is not devastating, but last year, going into this year, it was the month of April and the month of August and the month of December and then straight back in March. So 4 fights in 11 months. That's pretty good going. And it showed. It shows because we can see Joshua was looking a lot more confident. His technique even with Derek James was looking good. It just seemed like there was something awry there. Something not quite right. That seems to be gone now and I'm liking the signs I'm seeing. And I did say after Ngannou, I want to see this Joshua because people would go like, oh, look what he did to Ngannou. That means he beats Usyk. Ngannou had 1 pro fight. I'd like to see that version of Joshua against a top 10 heavyweight. You know, if it's Hrgovic, if it's Dubois, if it's the winner of Fury Usyk, so be it. But I'd like to see that, and then we can really say, okay, if this, we're going into peak Joshua years. You know, they weren't in the past; they're well and truly present. But I need to see it against a top 10 to really be able to gauge that. You know, to see it against someone like Francis Ngannou, it's like, well, you know, he realistically, that's what Tyson Fury should have done. I even said at the time, he's going to have the fight Fury should have had. And he did. So, we need to see what Joshua looks like against whom, we don't know. But I like the fact that he's upset that he's not active. Yeah, not upset, but like he wants to get out earlier. And as I've said several times, activity is the... Joseph Parker, I mean, look at the benefit he's had. Look how active he's been over the last year, you know. Fought in January, fought I think in May, don't quote me on that, but I know it was kind of summertime. Then fought in October, fought in December, and this is 5 fights in just over a year. The benefit of that goes without saying. And I've always said I don't like it when a fighter maybe takes an L, says, right, I'm on the comeback trail. They have maybe 2 fights in 6 months and then they're like, right, I'm back into the deep end. It's like, well, relax your cacks, mate. Seriously, you know, take it a little bit, you know, do a little bit more. 2 fights against whoever is not going to, you know, give me all the confidence in the world that you're all good to go. So with Joshua, what he's done, I like it. I like what Parker's done, and yeah, let's see how May goes, because that fortnight in May, because it's roughly May the 18th to June the 1st, roughly a fortnight. That's going to tell us a lot what's going to happen in the end of the year. Because if it's Fury Usyk is competitive and say Fury sneaks it legitimately, well, let's say he sneaks it and Usyk invokes the rematch, there's going to be people will want to see that rematch anyway, so that will be something. Then we'll see, obviously, if Hrgovic does fight Dubois and it is for the vacant title. Well, then you're like, right, well, Joshua's going to fight for a title in Saudi Arabia in September, most likely. So it's going to set the June the 1st is kind of like the start of the second half of the year, and it's going to really that's really going to tell us what's going to happen in the second half of the year. So looking forward to that. Let me know your thoughts, lads, in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And for now, lads and lassies, I'll leave it there. Peace.